Hey, chiropractors, welcome to Modern Chiropractic Mastery with your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, where we discuss the latest in marketing, business, and professional growth with some of the leading experts in the industry. Welcome to another episode of Modern Chiropractic Mastery. This is your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, and today we got a unique, fresh topic, and I've got Dr. Lucas Marchand on the interview on mobile chiropractic. We're going to really focus a lot on kind of the portable table setup at someone's house or place of business, but we do talk a little bit about more of like your RV chiropractic as well. But Lucas is someone that really has taken this by the horns, and he tells his story of how it all came to fruition. Some of the road bumps, it was a slow start, some of the things he's learned, some nuances of it. He's got a really popular closed Facebook group that he's gonna discuss that you can get a lot of information out of it, but even if you're a brick and mortar chiropractor, we talk about even some of the side hustle aspect of this, or you'll get that, occasional a lot of times a wealthy patient that doesn't wanna come into the office, "Hey, can you come to my house?" It's like, "Yeah, sure." It's gonna be a lot, right? We talk about what to do in that scenario where you can supplement your income a little bit in this, and so you're gonna get a lot of good ideas of it, even some of the corporate settings that I've done, and it just could be something that you would like to potentially look at where it could be a little bit of a side hustle. It could be a full-time thing like he has, or, it could just be the occasional aspects of going to someone's place of business or home and charging a premium for that service. And so we dive into that quite a bit today. One thing I want to mention before we do that, Chiropractic Success Academy, we have just done a lot with these playbook ideas, and we've put in there recently an associate playbook. So you're looking to hire, train, and onboard an associate. It's not a system per se, like just here's your cookie cutter system of doing it. It's a playbook, which then it kind of provides you with guidance and then some other links of CSA lessons and how to go about this and even maybe develop your own system from it. And so these playbooks are our way of helping you build systems in your practice without it being just this cookie cutter thing that you can't apply to your practice. So you'll learn from the playbooks, it'll guide you into certain lessons and resources to understand and then implement, and then give you the blueprint to develop your own practices, actual system, whether it's for the associate or for the front desk. We have one on scaling your practice. We have one on going, networking from 0 to 1, like you have no network, you don't know how to do it, you're afraid of it, to actually implementing it to where it's not this big monster that you're scared of, right? So these playbooks have been well received from our members, and you can check us out at csacircle.com. It's $99 a month to join. It's month to month. You get a lot for it, including the CSA digital dashboard. And now you get these playbooks amongst everything else there you can check out on the website at csacircle.com. Here is my interview with Dr. Lucas Marchand. All right. Welcome to the show, Lucas. I really appreciate your time today. I'm excited. This is a fresh topic we're going to dive in today about mobile chiropractic. But before we do that, tell us, a little bit about yourself personally, professionally, and then we'll start to have a good time.
Yeah, I practice in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, small town, about 220,000 people or so. Um, and I grew up here as well. And had just a normal life growing up, sports, all that. Went to college, played college football, and then got into chiropractic. Somehow it wasn't even like a normal, family member as a chiropractor, or I had this healing event with chiropractic. I sort of just fell into it, which is disappointing in a way. I wish I had a cooler story, but
Yeah.
then I went
You didn't
to
have a
school.
you didn't have
Go
any
ahead.
miracle stories or anything?
No, but I knew I was kind of in that going the healthcare route in general. I just wasn't sure which way I wanted to go. And I just, one of my friends was going that route and kind of introduced me that way, I suppose. And then the rest was history. I ended up going to Northwestern up in Minneapolis and spent some time there. And then did my T10 externship, if you want to call it that, down in Texas for a bit. I just wanted to get out of the Minnesota weather, to be honest. It wasn't like there wasn't really any reason to go down to Texas other than the warmth. And then I practiced as an associate for about a year. And then I moved back to South Dakota and started my house call practice in
Nice.
2016.
2016? Perfect, I was
Yep.
gonna ask, and
Yep.
so, yeah, right out of the gates, it sounds like you jumped into it. It wasn't like you were in private practice and changed everything.
Yeah.
What gave you the initial idea of mobile practice?
It was just more practicality. Um, 2015, I was working in as an associate. I learned a lot at this clinic. It was a high volume clinic. I specifically sought them out because I wanted to, as you know, like we don't get a lot of business in school, So I was like, I'm gonna go to a clinic that's maybe not how I want to practice long term, but at least I know they're good, they're under management and they have systems and all that stuff. But I spent a year there learning the marketing and patient, stuff and all that. And then it was just a bad year for me. My dog died,
Mhm.
and then a week later, my dad died,
Yeah.
and then I got a massive heart attack. It was unexpected, and then a month later, 2 months later, my grandpa died.
Yeah,
So then I was
sorry.
just like, yeah. So it was just kind of like, okay. I think my relationship with my boss at the time kind of run its course,
Mhm.
and with all the family stuff going on, I decided I need to get back home to family, and and I knew I didn't want to associate again. Um, but I didn't really, have the money at the time to go to a business and get a business loan and start an office. So I was like, okay, it's going to be really practical. Get back home, get licensed in South Dakota, get a table,
Mhm.
and start doing house calls, build up a clientele. And then the plan was honestly just to go into an office, but I was going to get back here and just start working. And then I just never stopped doing house calls. So
Perfect.
that's how I got
So
into it.
yeah, I like it. And there's two tracks that someone could really discuss this topic. One is the portable table, bringing it to people's houses or
Yep.
businesses and things of that nature. And then there's also you get some folks a little more involved for sure, but they build out a RV type of thing or a bus
Correct.
or a van, and
Yep.
the whole 9 yards, and they take that to a particular spot. Typically, obviously, a corporation in a lot of sense. We're going to
Yep.
focus a lot on how you're doing it, but could you just give us a little bit of, like, just a 30,000-foot overview of what you see? Because I know you have, and we'll touch on it a bit, you have a closed Facebook group, which I'll have you mention in a little bit.
Mhm.
So I'm sure you get a lot of insights on the RV. This is for the point of this conversation. We'll call him the RV chiropractor.
Yep.
What's it like? Just some of the thoughts on that, some of the insights you've seen in your Facebook group and talking to some other professionals.
So with the RV, with the build out like that, I mean, you can really do whatever you want. I've seen some really expensive rigs that look like, a blood mobile effectively, but with an office, chiropractic office in there. X-rays. I mean, it's a small office and they drive around and they pull up to like a UPS, for example, or a big corporation, and they can see the same volume that a brick and mortar could see if they wanted to. Um, into the hundreds, or more. Um, it's just the cost to build out is
Yeah.
maybe prohibitive for some. And in a way, from my perspective, for me, I was like, well, if I'm going to do that to build out an RV and get a loan for all that, maybe I just might as well get an office at that point. Um, that was kind of my logic. That's why I stick with house calls right now. But that's the mobile unit. I mean, and Jeff Solomon's the guy to talk to about that. He's the expert on that, but that's my view on that.
Perfect. Yeah. Now let's go to your, house call setup. Uh,
Mhm.
Tell us about, like, what are the settings you're going to? Houses, corporations, sporting
Yeah.
teams, events? What are you doing with that?
It's mostly house calls for individuals, couples, and families. I do have some corporations I go to every week. A lot of construction sites,
Nice.
a lot of like real estate offices, law offices, dental offices. So small businesses, and really that's the in a way to go if you want to build some volume, because if you can stop at one place and see 3 to 7 people at a dentist office, especially if they're pretty established and it's mostly wellness in some cases, like it's pretty quick visit. Um, the dollar per hour you can make at a session like that is a lot higher as opposed to an individual house call. Um, but I do a combination of both. But my bread and butter is the individual families going to their homes.
Perfect. And then what do you bring with you other than a table?
So I got, the doctor bag, that we got in school with all my, exam material, blood pressure cuffs, pulse oximeter, all that stuff. And then my table, I carry around, I think it's, I think it's Dynatron or Chattanooga E-stim machine. I set people up, especially if they're really acute, with 10 minutes of interferential current and a heating pad. I have a massage gun that I don't use as much. I use my hands more. Um, and so it's mostly that. So E-stim, heat, my Chiro table, which has, the pelvic drop, the thoracic, and the cervical drops. My technique is mostly diversified, but I do a combination of all sorts of things. So, yep, it's pretty basic.
No, it's great. And you do some soft tissue you mentioned?
Yep, a little bit. I'm not certified in anything, just a little muscle work.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. No, that's great. And then um I'd love to hear how you got started with it. Like, did it take some time to get some traction? Did you get, one and that led to two and three, or did it come like just flowing right out of the gates for you? So anybody that's listening that's like thinking about this, like what did that look like? Take
Yeah.
yourself back to when you got going, how'd it go?
Yeah. And it was pretty slow to start out, to be honest. I mean, you don't have that natural foot traffic that you would maybe in an office with some signage. And it was different. I mean, now it's more common, but I had put some decals on my vehicle
Mhm,
and I
mhm.
put out a Facebook on my personal Facebook page. I was back in town doing house calls and that got a lot of shares. But honestly, the first couple of years were really slow. I mean, it was really difficult and I didn't have the marketing systems down at the time. I mean, um, so it was a lot of just kind of word of mouth at the beginning, which is slow and you don't have any base.
Yeah.
So it took me a while. Took me
Now, do you have
probably
a
about 3 years.
3 years now? Do you
Yeah.
have like your own website now and
Yep.
marketing strategy and all that?
Yep. 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 It's
Uh,
yeah, I got the website and then a lot of it still is referral based, um but yeah, mostly it's word of mouth. And then because I'm open 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. every day, 7 days a week, kind of built up a clientele. That was my marketing I started out with because I didn't have any money. I was like, I'll be open on the weekends at night just to be fill that gap in the market because no one's generally open, that late or on the weekends. So that's what I do.
Cool, and then, would you recommend if someone were to do this, probably start out with have a marketing strategy, like, do the whole 9 like, almost, like,
Oh,
treat it like you would if you're opening up a practice?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I didn't do it right. I just kind of got things started just to get going. And then
Yeah,
I figured I'd build the parachute on the way down.
yeah.
Um, but if you can have more of a plan and yeah, keep your job and have a plan with marketing and save up and, reach out to a consultant that can help you with that, to build up, Facebook ads or Google ads, or work on your SEO, but have a plan of attack or just do what
'Cause
I did.
yeah, I mean, I gotta imagine, like, you could develop really good marketing messaging around what you're doing. I'm
Mhm.
assuming you've started to do that and gotten really clear
Yep.
on your messaging.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's still similar. It was more delivering affordable, convenient chiropractic care to the comfort of your home or office, right? Um, because a lot of people, they just can't get off of work. They don't want to leave work. They're used to things like Uber Eats now and in the post-COVID world, I guess, they're used to things being delivered to them, especially now. Um, and so a lot of the clientele I see are usually busy entrepreneurs or just really busy professionals that just they don't want to take off, and that's kind of people I target. I think that's who I would target, and people that make pretty high income,
Yeah,
because of the house call service. Like it's going to be a bit more your traditional
yeah.
cash brick and mortar office.
That's what I was gonna say, you don't have to get into your prices, but I'm assuming it's on the higher end of what a
Yeah.
visit would be.
Yep. Typically. Yep.
And do you also build in or bake in the travel to that, or do you have, like, a fee if, like, you have to go far for them or anything like that?
No, I kind of keep it all one price, so it's like it's higher per session, but that's built into the fee structure with the travel. I typically stick around my town. I mean, on average, if I looked at my numbers again from last year, I think the average round trip for me was like 10 miles. It wasn't very
Okay.
far. And that was a round trip.
That's
I'm not going like, an hour to the next town or something and then coming back. It's pretty much in town. So,
perfect.
so that's what I do. Yep.
Nice. Yeah. And obviously you could write off your gas and car
Yep.
and all that type of stuff. So
Yeah. It's horrible. Yeah, I mean, you can get, you talk to your CPA about it, but like you can get pretty intricate with what you can do, especially, yeah, if you have a vehicle or certainly an RV or something, what you can write off with that stuff.
have you wrapped your vehicle even more nowadays, or is it still the same type of
No, I won't. My windows got busted into last summer, so I was like, well, maybe I'll just take it off because I'm all referral anyway for the most part. So I'm kind of, unmarked at this point. But yeah, I thought about like, I kind of like having the marked vehicle. It's just kind of
yeah.
just drive around and get eyeballs and clicks and
Yeah.
views and stuff. Yeah.
Well, even like I think about it this way, in my neighborhood, I'll be walking around neighborhood, and I remember there was a guy parked out there, and he had such a great setup. He car wash,
Hmm.
but he had a nice truck, wrap, looked good. He put this really nice big tent over the vehicle he was washing because it's Florida and it's hot and sunny.
Yep.
So it gives him shade, but then he had this whole tent over it, branded, like it just looked
It's good
great.
marketing.
It
Yeah.
is. And I walk by and I'm taking a picture of it because like I'm gonna call this guy to wash my car, right?
Yeah.
And so you could take that same thought process with what you're
Yeah.
doing, and you're parked in front of people's houses, and if it's really wrapped, obviously you're not gonna have a tent and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could be a good way of getting people to
Well,
potentially call you.
I've thought about I mean, with what I do, yes, I'm a chiropractor, but I look at parallel systems and like I'm more in a way related to more of the home services type of businesses, like, the HVAC and those types of folks, or the cable guy that comes out there. And like, I've thought about getting like a big sprinter that I won't necessarily practice out of. I'd have my equipment in there, but just to get a big wrap on there, like a Mercedes sprinter and just pull up to a house and people walk by and they're like, mobile chiropractic. I've never even heard of that. House call chiropractor. And then so that's
And
probably my
just the
next
draw like,
iteration.
yeah, like if you think about that investment, I know those aren't cheap, but again, that's a
Yep.
business. You buy that through the business
Hmm.
and you wrap it nice, and it's a nice vehicle. So people are like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. And
Yeah.
then not only is it parked in front of places, but you're driving around town, and it's such a novel idea
Yeah.
that it's like Seth Godin's old book called The Purple Cow. It's like if you're
Yeah.
driving that thing around and you're parking that thing in front of places, like you're the purple cow now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, I've really thought about it. Um, because yeah, like I said,
I'm
it's
gonna
great
make you do it.
marketing.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna make
like
you do it.
I probably will buy like a Mercedes Sprinter by the end of the year or by next year or something. Just so my colors are super bright green, like think of H&R Block. I mean, it would just be like just kind of
I like it.
you'd see it a mile away.
Yeah, I like it. I
So
like it. No,
yeah,
you should do it.
yeah,
It's cool. So, it's been funny because we're now Facebook friends. It hasn't been that long, and you have a lot of fun. There's certain people that stand out on what they post, and you've got a lot of clever posts. So that's
yeah,
always enjoyable to see,
yeah,
to
yeah,
see your
yeah.
musings. But speaking of Facebook, you started a closed Facebook group, correct, about this
Yes.
topic?
Yep. Yep.
What
I
is that?
started that. So I started that in 2017, mostly out for selfish reasons. Like I didn't really know how to navigate the house call mobile chiropractic world. Um, I mean, even me just Googling it in 2016, there's one gal that was like a consultant that was doing that, but there really wasn't that much information on it. And so I started a Facebook group and I Googled like, house call or mobile chiropractor through all the states, Alabama, Alaska, see if I could find anyone that I could like see their website and kind of see what they're doing. And then maybe send them a friend request on Facebook to get them on this group. Honestly, I thought it was just going to be like maybe 20 or 40 of us just to chit chat. Hey, what's working in New York or what's working in California? What are you guys doing here? How do you handle this situation? And it just kind of organically grown to, I think, a little over 3,500 members on there.
Wow,
Um,
that's
and
crazy.
yeah, and I'd say of those 3,500 members, I mean, I'd say at least 300 of them are actually mobile in some form.
Yeah.
Whether they have a brick and mortar and they do house calls sometimes, or they're full on house call like me, or they have a mobile unit, or they're just like kids in grad school yet looking at this as an option. So, and it's pretty much like a Reddit forum. I mean, it's pretty open source. I don't there's no like everyone asks questions, sometimes it gets redundant, but yeah, it's cool.
That's good. Yeah, actually, that's kind of how this podcast episode came to fruition. Was I guess someone mentioned our Facebook group, and then we had a bunch of people asking to join our Facebook group from, and they mentioned your Facebook group, and
Yeah.
actually that'd be a great topic.
Yeah.
And it
That's like
you were
it's like
mentioning,
yeah, that's like live like how do they do that when you like share your social media with someone else's account and you kind of attracting their followers and it's kind of same thing.
yeah, no, that's cool that you got that much membership and activity in your Facebook group. It's not easy to do. I can attest to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it's like herding cats, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So all right. Now, one of the things you kind of mentioned in briefing, and I'm going to touch on it because I've done it a fair share over the years. Um, there are chiropractors that have their own practice, brick and mortar, traditional practice, and they get an opportunity. Someone wants them to go and treat them and travel. Um, I've done that. I don't do it anymore. I'm not practicing. I kind of turn those down. But I had one I started my own practice in 2010, and it was like 2011, and, it's like, I'll take all the money I can get. I had this lady call me, and I'm up in Boca Raton, Florida. She's all the way down in Hialeah, Florida, which is a part of Miami, about an hour drive, and she wanted me to come twice a week for I'm ART certified. She wanted ART, twice a week for 6 weeks. She had a hip replacement, and one of the doctors said, "Find someone who does ART for the muscles." I wasn't doing the hip replacement rehab, but and I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it," but, like, it's a far drive, and so I charged, like, a lot of money, and this was
Hmm.
back in 2011,
Yeah.
and, like, it was in the 400s, like, give or take. It was a lot each
Hmm.
time,
Yep.
and it was hard getting down there, but it was worth it, and I ended up like, this woman, she was older, like 70, and she became like a family member, so I was doing this ended up becoming more like once a week and then once a month, but I did it until like 2019, and it
Yeah.
became a
Wow.
point by like 2015, I didn't need to the 300 whatever it was, like didn't really really make a difference for me, but she was like my
Mhm.
grandmother at this time.
Yeah. Yep.
And so it was a good opportunity, but I tell the story because there's going to be these offshoots for folks that have brick and mortars, and it can
Hmm.
be a great opportunity. I've had it with other athletes and things, but I do believe in that setting. You need to charge what your hourly capacity is in your office, right? Like
For
if
sure.
your time is worth, just gonna make up numbers here, like $300 an hour in your practice, you
Hmm.
probably need to consider it being something like that for a offshoot. I know in
Yeah.
your scenario where you're making it more of like a little more volume to it, it's not gonna
Hmm.
be as high up there potentially. But what are some of your thoughts on just the random kind of opportunities here for brick and mortar chiropractors to do mobile?
I think I agree with you. I mean, if you have your hourly rate in your clinic, that's what it works out to. If you see 5 people an hour, that's about 300 an hour. And then someone calls and they want to see you after hours, after you close, can you come down to wherever? I think you should charge at least that.
Yeah.
Um, it's just not double.
Yeah.
Um, just to, first of all, they're serious, but also like, I don't know, maybe you don't want to do that, but it's going to be worth your time if it is. But yeah, you need to probably charge what you're out. You got to figure out like how long it's going to take you to get down there, how long your session is typically with a person like that. What I found with house calls is, well, I don't practice too dissimilar uh, than with a lot of chiropractors, but the fact that I'm in their home, I'm visiting with their family, like it's just a different context. Even if I am just adjusting them, it's like it's gonna take longer than a 10-minute office visit typically. I mean, with the setup and just you're talking, there's just so much more rapport being built
Mhm.
during a house call, I think. Um, that it's just gonna take more. So your standard visit's probably just gonna be about 15 to 30 minutes,
Yeah.
not including your drive, and then you drive back home. So yeah.
And then is there any, like with what you're doing, any other like liability things someone needs to consider? I know obviously malpractice goes with you, but is there anything
Yep.
else you've done?
So I have some extra liability, just like business liability. Like if I were to, I haven't had anything happen, but if I were to break something at their house where I was trying to
Yep.
get in their house and crack the door window or something like that, um, I would have that. Um, Others type of stuff. Some people, there's a lot of safety issues people worry about. Um, with the type of people you're dealing with. I mean, I've had some interesting situations, but I don't have any extra security on top of that, I guess. It's mostly just my liability, my malpractice, and that's it. But yeah, there's a lot of like situational awareness when
Yeah.
it comes to doing house calls specifically. I mean, you have to do it in an office too, but like it's, you're going into someone's home, you're going to a weird neighborhood that you've never been into. You got to be careful. So that's something to think
Yeah.
about.
That's a good topic, where the neighborhoods or even, you are going to someone's house, like people can be weird in general.
Yeah,
It's like, do you
yeah,
like, you like, I mean, I could see it and I'm just making this up, but you could have someone like, they want like, oh, come treat me in my bedroom or whatever. It's like, do you avoid going in
yeah,
their bedroom? Like,
yeah.
let's do
No,
this in
for
the living,
sure.
like in the
Yeah.
living room or kitchen.
You could go down the rabbit hole with this one. Like,
Yep.
so, like, especially with the female chiropractors, there's male chiropractors, and that actually comes up a lot with the ladies on the forum with like just safety. Um, a lot of the women I talk to that are doing house calls, they tend to focus not exclusively, but their focuses are more like prenatal.
Yep.
They're dealing with babies and pregnant moms and all that stuff. Well, you got to worry about that. I mean, and maybe have a system like, where I don't know how the HIPAA would work with this, but maybe your partner knows where you're at all times, or you could send them like a ping or something like I'm at this place. I don't know. But then I have the same issues for the opposite reasons, where it's like I've had some calls where I get a call from like an athlete that's in town for a swim meet, from college. There's a big college meet and they want me to meet them, at their hotel room because they can't push off, when they're on the wall there and their back hurts. And it's like, well, your coach better be there or some teammates or your parents, which is that's how it worked out fine. That's usually how
Yep.
it works. But yeah, you got to be aware of what you're going into. Um, and then I've had some other ones where I've been in shady basements. That's for sure. I don't get those as much anymore. One time I accidentally,
After the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary movie came
yeah,
out on Netflix, you just haven't done that since?
no, it's been a while. The weirdest call I did, I was kind of being stupid. It was late. I kind of knew the area, but I didn't realize how far into the area I got into. And I accidentally did a house call at a halfway house. Like,
Oh, there you go. There
like
you go.
it was, I pulled up in this sketchy alley. I don't get these calls that often. It's just a fun story. Um,
Mhm.
I get up there, I see all this paperwork by the window, like, hey, absolutely no one here at this time. Well, I was like, that's kind of weird. And the guy was nice, fixed his back, but it's always that was like a situation like I probably shouldn't have done that. I should have like maybe just, hey, maybe you go to an office or something or go to this person. But yeah.
I do think a key take home here is that, folks that are doing it or thinking about doing it
Mhm.
is set boundaries, have a plan,
Yeah.
put the parameters in place and even you can even pre-communicate that via
Mhm.
text message. I'm assuming
Yep.
that you probably utilize your cell phone a lot for the bookings
Yeah.
and scheduling, people calling your cell, and you
Yep.
probably text with them a lot, right?
Yep.
All right, Docs, here is a new opportunity for you from Darcy Sullivan of Propel. She is our SEO specialist in helping out many chiropractors with their search engine optimization and making sure Google is finding you and getting you new patients. It's amazing how many new patients chiropractors can get and are getting when they do the SEO right and a few other things. And Darcy is offering a free SEO workshop just for chiropractors, and you can sign up for that at bit.ly/propelmcm. That is bit.ly propelmcm, modern chiropractic marketing, right? And so check out that link. And we're going to have you go over 5 SEO secrets to owning the first page of Google without buying ads. And Darcy's going to give that free workshop 1 hour to really help grow your practice and start churning new patients from the ever mighty Google, which is still king in the online marketing. So check that out at bit.ly/propelmcm for the 1 hour free workshop. And I remember, obviously during COVID, everything was weird, but there'd be times where I'd get a text from, let's call it an HVAC or whatever, and it would be just a text like, "Hey, our service member or crew is gonna be wearing masks and this." Like, they would just give me
Mhm.
like a kind of a prep text, and that could be something that a mobile chiropractor as well could do is like,
Yeah.
we're gonna make sure there's air like, if you wanna like, the living room is the place you're gonna do this,
Yeah.
it's like, "Okay, we're gonna treat you in your living room. Please make sure there is space for that before I get
Yep.
there." Are there other like, there's a lot of nuances. Like, do you just automatically take your shoes off when you go in? Do you
I
ask,
do.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just there's a lot of like service, like good customer service that can be utilized with the house call in the sense that like let's say I have Kevin scheduled for tomorrow at 2 and he'll get a 24-hour text from mine, hey, just confirming tomorrow is 2 p.m. house call. You say yes or no, or it's rescheduled, but then I say like it's like kind of like Lyft almost. Like I say I'm
Yep.
on my way. Like, hey, I'm about 15 minutes away. I'll see you at 2. So they know I'm on my way. I text when I arrive, come in there, take my shoes off. I never park in the driveway. I don't know why. I've always just kind of, God forbid something happens to my vehicle, it just doesn't work. I don't want to be stuck in someone's driveway if they have to, there's these little like subtle things. And then, you get them treated, you go through their care plan. Usually with house calls, like this isn't, the big type of care plans that you might see in some other types of clinics.
Mhm.
I typically start out people with 1 to 5 sessions, 1 to 6 sessions over 2 weeks, and they do a reevaluation. But we go visit to visit. Sometimes, it is just like it's a headache and might be pretty straightforward. Um, but then, like, yeah, I mean, you get them treated, you dismiss them, and there's just a lot of opportunity for just offering good service when you're doing a house call because you're going above and beyond. Because you're going to them, the communication, the text, the confirmation, the follow ups. I mean, it's really fun. I really enjoy customer service. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, and it kinda makes me think, I've had Joey Coleman on my podcast in the past, and he wrote that book, Never Lose a Customer Again, but he has that 8
Hmm.
phases of the customer experience, and we've
Yep.
kinda teased it out to the patient experience, and, you could probably do a lot of really cool customer experience
Yep.
service things in this where
Yep.
it's like, this is a first class experience,
Yeah.
and it's really novel in a lot of ways, and it's very
Hmm.
effective, and there's a marketplace for it. So that's pretty cool that you've thought of some of those things like not parking in driveway. Like,
Yeah.
it's smart, even because there might be people like they might be parked in.
They need to leave. Wife
Yeah,
needs to leave, or kids are, whatever. Like it's just like all these little nuances that you pick up on. Or I mean, or like I said, your vehicle breaks down, or
Mm.
I don't know, anything could happen, I suppose, that you pick up on over the years. But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's cool. That's cool. Is there anything else that you kind of think of with this whole process that you've been through and what's going right, some wins, anything that our audience would be, okay, that makes a lot of sense or gets them helping in the right direction?
Um, I'd say join my Facebook group, if you will.
Well, I was going to
It's not
ask
just
next.
me.
So I was going to ask next. So
There's
how do they
well,
find the
I
Facebook group?
think it's called the Mobile Chiropractors Forum. It used to be called the House Call Chiropractors Forum, but we
Yep.
changed it just to kind of all encompassing with the different
Yes.
types of practices. Well, like I said, it's just a Reddit forum, basically. People ask questions. You can use a search tool. Um,
Yep.
People talk about how do you structure your fees? Do you go time based because of your house call, or do you go like you use CPT codes because you're billing? Most of the people that I know are doing house calls are probably cash practices.
Yep.
Some of them might do some insurance. And like, how do you structure? That's the biggest one. Is how do you structure your fees? Do you go time based? Do you go fee for service? Do you do membership model? This depends on your state and what's legal. Me personally, I go fee for service because I don't know, just like I said, I kind of more in the line with like the other home services where you pay me for the service, right? Um,
Yep.
that's the big one. Then marketing, um, it's all on there. but in the logistics of it, what type of EHRs are best for mobile versus, you know, whatnot, what kind of phone service do you use that's HIPAA compliant, all that stuff. There's a lot
Yeah,
of nuance in it.
that's that's good, and, I highly recommend them checking that out for sure. For me, I had also for a long time, we had on-site corporate locations, and,
Hmm.
at one point, we had 5 or 6 at the same time, and some of them were portable. Like, I actually was driving over back in 2013, 2014. I was driving over to Naples, Florida, which was like an hour and a half drive for a company, and they gave me, like, a room. It wasn't built out or anything, it was just, like, an extra
Yeah.
room. I
Yeah.
brought my table, and they wanted me doing ART. It wasn't through ART, it was just, it was just and I was seeing 20 people, and I'd haul my ass all the way back home, and it was a long day,
Yeah.
but that was generating a lot of revenue per month. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then we had, like, on-site where they actually gave us a full chiropractic treatment room completely built out with all the
Hmm.
fixment, the whole 9 yards, and you were
Hmm.
there 3 days a week to do that. So this that would fall under that kinda mobile chiropractic in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
and do you have some other colleagues that are doing a little bit more of that where it's real, like that corporate on-site care?
Yeah. I mean, Jeff Sullivan's kind of the guy that does that mostly. Like he's got the RV, pulls up, and he does a lot of he's in network with, they're out of network with, but he takes their insurance for some of these
Yeah.
companies. Just depends what you want to do. Like I really enjoy the house call, the one-on-one.
Mhm.
Like these are like, I don't even feel like I'm really practicing in the sense that it's like I'm just driving around town visiting friends, catching up, helping them with their headache or their back pain. So that one-on-one is what I like. I do some corporate work in the sense that I go out there and the company's paying and I'm there for 3 or 4 hours and I'm seeing their employees. It's draining to me for me personally. You can make a lot more money, I think, doing that. But like it's like a lot of those, especially when the company's paying, it's like they're not as committed to care, it seems. Um, and you got to do all the new patient workup and it feels like kind of fast paced because people are just coming in. It's like it's just too fast for me. Or maybe I just got to get better at it. I tend to get long winded with my patients and just kind of chit chat about a lot of different stuff. So, but yeah,
No,
no,
that's
I like the
cool.
house call.
Well, listen, I really appreciate your time today, Doc. I hope they can reach out to your Facebook group, get in there,
Yeah,
start to learn, start to get their feet wet a little bit and have a strategy around it. This is just a really cool topic that I think a lot of people could benefit from, whether they go all in or they,
yeah,
do a side hustle thing, right? I'm sure you
yeah,
see some side hustlers.
yeah. Well, one thing would like to note, and I haven't because I haven't gone into a brick and mortars. People I've talked to, I'm not sure if you use house calls as a leverage point to get into an office in the future, if that's going to work that well. What I mean by that is you think, you see all these patients, you're convenient, you're going to them, you build rapport, they like you, and then now you've saved enough, you got the office, you can go there. A lot of them don't follow you to the office because the reason they were utilizing your services was the convenience. So I'd say be careful with that. You could be starting a practice over again
Yeah.
if you're thinking about building a house call practice to leverage into a small office or something like that. It works better the other way around.
Yeah.
Let's say you want to get out of practice or you want to slow down. Um, you could just put a little sign at your front desk, say, hey, at the end of the year, I'm going to go fully mobile. So if anyone's interested, sign up here, or something like that. And you'll have more people follow you that way doing that.
Mhm.
But I haven't seen it successful the other way around.
That makes sense. I could see a scenario where if you built up like a reputation like you have, and you started like you probably know a lot of people in the
Hmm.
community.
Yeah.
And if you were to open up brick and mortar, you wouldn't want to go all in with it. Brick and mortar, you
Hmm.
like probably want to keep your mobile, do the brick and mortar, maybe build it, do it kind of concurrently to an
Yeah.
extent to the point where it's like, okay, now I'm here and I can do that and try to leverage the connections in the community I've made to
Yeah.
do it and then you could potentially cut the cord down the road, but I agree with you. It's not gonna transfer probably.
Well, I got this thing here. I don't know if you can see that. There's like a little map
Oh,
of my
cool.
town, and
Yeah.
I got all the like in the where I go, like approximate locations. So then, like when I look at it, like it's pretty split all around town, east west. And like, because I started doing it, was like, okay, maybe if I start leveraging, if I just happen to see most of my like 90% of these people are on the east side of town or the west side, well, it's like, well, that makes more sense to open up in those areas.
Yeah.
Um, so that's something you
I
could do is like, you know,
actually, here's a question for you because I have my brother-in-law, it's my wife's sister's husband. He started uh, basically an appliance repair company in his early 20s. Now they're
mm,
very successful. I think he employs his whole family now, and they
yeah,
got all these wrapped vehicles going around, and they're busy. And I've talked to him about it. And one of the things that they're always cognizant of is the logistics of it, right? Like they don't want to
mhm,
send one of their service repair techs over here and then on the other side of town and the other, like
yep.
it's they have to like the night basically the late afternoon before the next day. They really try to strategically do that. Are you finding yourself doing that as well?
I don't because I want to be that convenient guy. Like, hey, I'm like their personal chiropractor, basically. But I charge enough where I feel I'm happy with it. But what you could do, I could say you have that. You could have zone one, zone two, say, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm in zone one. If you live on the east side, this side of town, you know, you get the new patient information. Like, okay, I'm in that side of town on Fridays or something. I can get you in on Friday because then you can really cut down on you're only going, you know, from, you know, one house. I've literally done it where it's just going up and down the block, it seemed, you know, with people. That's a way you could manage your logistics because with chiropractic, unlike maybe like, you know, like maybe there's a plumbing issue, like kind of an emergency, maybe
Mhm.
like it's not generally an emergency for us. Like it's like you could get in, you could wait a day, because that's when I'm in your area or something. That's something you could do.
Makes sense. Well, Doc, I really appreciate your time. This was really, really informative, and I think it'll start piquing the interest of some other chiropractors. So thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And if you want to make the shift from busy, broke, and broken to time free and cash confident, or you just want to continue with the exponential growth, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com. Look at the MCM Mastery tab, watch the short video on there, and check out what we are doing now for evidence informed chiropractors. We are equal parts coaching and marketing done for you. Yes, you shoot some videos, we help you with campaign strategies and ideas and really become a thought leader in your community. You shoot those videos, you send them to us, we produce, edit, and brand them to you. Then we distribute them through all of your channels. We also take them and we turn it into one good blog per month. And every other month, we have Darcy Sullivan producing a robust blog with a topic that you pick from her database to help with your SEO. So we essentially become your content marketing agency to make sure your practice is always having ethical, elegant content marketing to help grow your practice. On the coaching side, we also help you with everything from marketing ideas to business, communications, finances, anything practice growth, and really try to help prevent you from being stuck on that island. And we hold you accountable. We have a great group of doctors that are just doing amazing things, and we look forward to help you out to take that next step in your practice. So again, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com and learn more.